You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
You are now tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that's on all the time, anytime. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for all content. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell. Bring your sports game with Big Nate Sports Talk.
Thank you, Mr. Anthony Henry, for that lovely introduction. Good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Excuse me. It is your host, Nathan Snell of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing safe. Happy Friday. Before we get into the video, there's a few things I'd like to say up front. This is season 13, episode 20. As you have seen the video, as you've seen the title of this video, we're talking Maryland men's basketball. A couple of things have happened. I was supposed to record this video Thursday night, but didn't get the opportunity to do that. Maryland faced Purdue, which was a big win against the ranked opponent, last and a half, I believe, since 2016. What I decided to do, I decided to say, well, I'll hold off until Friday and record the video. For some reason, when I recorded it initially, it cut off some things that I said. So I'm now starting this episode all over again. So that episode has been, I deleted that episode. My team and I have not come to a full decision on, for now, to continue either recording or going live, but content will be out. Some people have reached out and said, you mentioned about the Washington Mystics. So with that happening, what happened was a couple weeks ago, the Washington Mystics had a media call with Brittany Sykes. And typically, they will email or they will leave a link to access the recording. The Mystics PR can be at times not as fast to responding. So I sent an email requesting the recording, have not gotten an email yet. But you will see a video with that soon. The WNBA Mock Draft 2.0, I will start recording that video Sunday night, tops. The NFL offseason, I'll start recording that Monday. And then how we're going to do is going to do it division by division. I'm pretty much going to start with I'm going to start with the AFC first and then work my way down to the NFC, work my way to the NFC side of it. But it'll be by divisions. With Major League Baseball coming up soon, obviously, I feel like it's time to do a preview for all 30 teams, predictions, and what to look for. But my team and I have come to a decision where we're going to end season 13 once the regular season for college basketball comes to an end with tournament play and then March Madness. That'll be a good time because there's more focus, especially on the tournament plays. I'm still waiting to see my credentials for the Big Ten tournament coverage. That I will have a decision by the 25th of this month. So crossing fingers that I get those credentials. But that's really all the announcements I have for the podcast. Be tuned, stay tuned. I will have Brendan Potts back on the show at some point, right around when tournament play starts. I definitely know he's keen to get onto that. But that's what's really that's all I have for you. Oh yes, season 12 and 13's episodes have all been downloaded. I will have those uploaded. My goal is to have those uploaded fully by Monday night. So if I'm behind on the recordings, you will have everything up to date as of episode 20. Once this is put on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and then for those listening on Spotify, you'll be caught up with all the seasons so far. Really, other than that, continue to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for the new subscribers. We're ever so close and reaching our goal for small goals, but we are continuing to build what I think is a good platform for me, and I'm thankful for the opportunities I've been given and the connections I've made so far. But that's enough of me talking. Let's get into it. So, with Maryland, for the men, this has been an interesting season. If I had to come up with a title of an article when covering the men's basketball team, the title would be Perseverance. When you look at this roster, Mark Turgeon's fingerprints are still all over it. Let's get that out the way. We all know coming from Seton Hall, Kevin Willard, he's brought a different type of energy. Now, there have some things have happened since the last time I did a Maryland video. It's interesting to see how Maryland at home and on the road are two different teams. I'm going to really take it back for you for the month of February. That's the focus. Coming into the month of February, we were 6-5 in the Big Ten, beating Indiana, beating the mid-market at 6-5. Now, for me, coming into that game, I believe we were 3-5, and with five of those losses in the on the road, there was a bit of panic because I think it's Minnesota, Nebraska, Penn State, who I think are all easy wins with the last 9 games. Those of the 9 last games left. I thought the key in that game against Indiana, Trace Jackson Davis, who I think is one of the best players in the nation, and even the last time we saw them, let me say it like this. Even though I think for National Player of the Year, it should be Zach Edley, Maryland defensively checked Trace Jackson Davis, especially coming into the Big Ten. I've never seen a player of his caliber, his athleticism, especially around the rim. Defensively, you got to double him, and that's what they did. Against Purdue, where we faced Zach Edley and the Boilermakers, they double teamed it every time he touched the ball. And I thought that was one of the very keys in making him pass the ball or take a tough shot. But again, as I'm giving you context up until this game against Purdue, I want you to understand that Maryland shooting the ball has been disappointing. Because this is a struggling team. I think as of now, I think they're still the second. I believe up until this game, Maryland shooting from three, it's terrible, and they shoot the three better at home. But when we shoot poorly from three, that doesn't help us win games. I think if you look at this whole season so far, I think the keys to victory, our success, has been attacking the basket. And maybe it's what I don't know. I can't explain it. And even against, listen, I don't count the Minnesota win because Minnesota is not a good team. That's a rebuilding program. Even though that's an opponent you should respect, it was a big road win that Maryland needed, and then it was a conference opponent. I think that's what's confidence you needed, especially when you're already kind of dealing with the slump that Maryland had, and to see, okay, well, you needed this win. I thought the key was their bench in that game. Ian Martinez and Patrick Enemelin come off the bench. Those guys are keys. Jahir Long, he had some playing time against Indiana. But Ian Martinez had 11 points in that game. Their bench had 24 points. And painfully, some of those points came time the game radically over. Even in that game, we were 16-7, and we were better than what we were at that point of the season, at that point in February, where we were 15-17. So, no, but I do see the team is a lot better. And you got to give Kevin Willard credit at that point. It's to see the turnaround. And again, where a lot of people didn't even have Maryland even sniffing. I think most teams had us finishing almost dead last in the Big Ten. I think we're on 9th or 10th place. Then when you get to Michigan State, another great example. The one thing that hurts Maryland, and I watched it, it's kind of been a repeating pattern. I'll say the same thing when I talk about for the women. What's what's very interesting is they have tendencies to have a slow start. When they faced Michigan State, we weren't even 10 seconds into the game, and you had they had an easy 2 and got fouled. And they came out on this, I think it was like a 15-16-0 run. That can't happen. They were down 22 points in the first half, and I think we went on a 12-0 run to bring it back to about, I think the score, but I think it was 30-38. But the key in that game was our defense. I thought, especially in the transition and also making it hard for the Spartans to, again, double team, force them to pass the ball, forcing them to get them uncomfortable offensively. I thought at times Coach Willard put a zone out there. Again, the fouls we really got to horn in on the fouls. There was a point in the game where the momentum kind of went back to Michigan State, where Julian Reese, who I think is having a good year, got a technical foul. We did, and when we lost that game, we made it a game. But this is a Michigan State team that is nothing to sneeze on, but to allow them to have the game that they had, that was very disappointing. And I also too think what's going to happen, what's going to, and I just see this for this recipe for disaster is it's going to come down to a couple things. It's going to come down to the offense for Maryland. It's going to have to be, we're going to have to move the ball. I don't care if we got to pick and roll, kick outs, be aggressive with shooting, ball moving around the perimeter. Maryland's offense to me is going to be the key. It's going to have to make some adjustments. And to me, it's little things that they can fix. Like, if you look in the second half of that game, Maryland, there's no shame in taking a 2. There's no shame in that, especially when you've seen them attack the rim in transition. Like, when you look at Hakeem Hart and then Jahir Young, drawing the defense in, for example, and getting open looks. Those are things that Maryland needs to horn in on. And I see it, but it just for some reason is not clicking. And if you paid attention in that game against Michigan State, and this is where things get interesting. If you paid attention to those first 26 shots in that game against Michigan State, painfully, half of those shots were threes by the Maryland Terps.
And they have normalized this bullshit.
I mean, this is some bad stuff. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know how much more of this I can take. I just don't know. This is ridiculous. Oh, Lord.
And one thing that was interesting, there were 2 of 13 just in the first half. Well, as a cohesive unit, the whole game. The second half, they were horrible. The only 3 that they made in the second half was Don Carey, who was 0-4 in the first half. Didn't play in the second half, just for the record. Jahir Young, Hakeem Hart, and Scott all were lethargic in that game. 2 of 14. And then what made it worse is we had no answers for Michigan State, who hit 9 of 20 of their threes, especially 4 that played a role in that just broke the comeback. I'm actually at a point where I think it's time to start making some more adjustments to the lineup. I feel like as great as Don Carey has been, he's shown flashes of what he can be, but shooting 3-wise, I really want to see some others get some minutes. And that to me was very, very interesting. And when I look at some of the other games, it's the same thing. And also too, in that game, I think what's also interesting to point out, and I've learned this from Coach T, former head coach for the Washington Mystics. How can I explain this? If it was the same official, that's different. If it was the same official that's making the same foul calls, it's one thing. But if you're getting the same calls, if you're being called from the same thing over and over and over again, you're probably 9 and 10 times doing something wrong. Now, fast forward to Penn State. Going into that game, the fourth best defense against shooting the three. And we won that game 74-68. But again, this was this is a Penn State team that's obviously rebuilding. But also too, when you look at Hakeem Hart, who I thought had a big game. Jameer Young, 18 points. He had a big second half. But the thing is, we kept Penn State in the game, especially when they can shoot the three. They had a freshman and a fifth year, I think it's a fifth year guard, had 15 points. And also another fifth year guard who had 14. I think his name was Andrew Flunk. The other one was Jalen Pickett and Kaye Clary, because they were 12 of 26 from three. When you look at the game at home, which was big, I think when you play at home, it just gives you extra confidence. You know, your family, your friends are in the crowd cheering for you. It just gives you that extra confidence. 23 points by Hakeem Hart was key. He, to me, is the X factor for this offense. And I want to see the others around him, even though Jameer Young, Dante Scott, like those guys are going to do their thing. I mean, Maryland coming into this game, before going to Purdue, are 7 at home again in conference games. And this is where the biggest game of for me for the season was against Purdue. And we upset the Boilermakers 68-54. So I hope you're following me, because I want to give you context as to what I have been seeing trending with the Maryland Terps. I hope you're staying with me on that. Now, if you paid attention, outside of that starting five, other than Jahir and Patrick, who had 97 points respectively, and then outside of the four starters, uh, Dante Scott and Don Carey had donuts next to their names, and that's simply not going to win you any type of games.
These are legitimate questions. I don't have answers. I'm starving for answers. I'm starving for them because I don't have them.
But then going to the second half, that's where it looked like a completely different Maryland Terrapin team. You know, I was very, very surprised to see the little things. When you look at the game, it mattered. Maryland, you saw the hustle, you saw a different energy that Purdue just could not adjust to. Before we start, they had 12 more rebounds than Purdue and 8 more points in the paint, especially going up against a 7'4" center in Edley, who you would think would dominate those two categories, especially when I thought it was also a big adjustment. We didn't fall in love with the three, and we didn't force bad shots. There was a lot of smart, timely stops and taking smart shots that I think is definitely more effective. At the right time, the offense definitely peaked. Maryland's defense locked down and stayed focused. I thought utilized at time being physical, and also to whether it's double teaming, whether it's zone, you saw the things that you didn't see in the first half, and they made their offense really give at times an inability to make a shot. I mean, their freshman, I think, was Braden Smith, who had his, for example, he had his first 7 shots. Last 16 minutes of that game was nowhere to be found. Edley, it goes through him. Like Julian Reese, who's really a power forward, avoided the fouls and was being physical. Like Edley had 10 points and 5 rebounds in the second half. Those are good numbers to put up. But other than that, there was nobody else offensively for the Boilermakers to step up and make adjustments. Like they had their freshmen and junior guards were the only 2 other players to score, and they had 4 points as a cohesive offense.
Good Lord, thank the good Lord I am on FCC airwaves. I thank the good Lord. It's hard to take, man.
So I was very surprised by that. And again, I'm happy that we won. I think this game for me, it's an upset. We haven't seen that since 2016. I'm happy about that. Defeating a number ranked opponent. A top 10 ranked opponent, excuse me. Let me say it like that. 2016. Whether you could say, well, this establishes Maryland, can make some noise. We were ranked the top 15 recruiting class. I think that what Coach Willard has done for this program, I wish Mark Turgeon would have done that. And whether it's just, you just see the little things that this Maryland team has persevered through, whether they've the tough losses, poor first starts. They've beaten some good teams, whether it's at home, on the road, or neutral sites. Like, you see the foundation that this team is building. It's not perfect, but when it matters, they're getting the job done. Now, I watched there was a little video on Twitter. He's made it clear that he's not satisfied with, he wants more. And I definitely think that whether we're going to be in the Big Ten tournament or March Madness, it felt good to see that happen. Regardless of how this season has been, to me, I think this really could have some really positive implications for Maryland, because we beat arguably one of the best teams in the nation. And I really think, I'm curious to see how that would affect the number one overall seed, because I think Purdue is up until there was the number one seed for March Madness. And that's another thing I've been trying to also say. Maryland's program for the last few years has been disappointing. And some of that still, I look at Mark Turgeon and the poor recruiting he pulled, even to the point where before he stepped down last year, he criticized fan support. When you're not winning and when you're not putting a good product on the field, and when you're not recruiting properly, when I say recruiting, some of the guys that he was recruiting, to me, did not fit what Maryland basketball is. He missed out on getting Hunter Dickerson, who makes it really clear to this day, and he's got to let it go. Not being recruited by Maryland, he wanted to come here, but Mark didn't pick him. Recruiting for some unknown reason, but you're just seeing a different style, a different attitude, a different swag of this Maryland team. I think they're still a year or two away from being a true contender in the Big Ten. I still think that they'll make some noise. I think they'll probably sneak in there for this year, but I think this team is definitely proven that when the lights shine the brightest, they can make some noise against a Kansas, a Purdue, those schools like that. They can. It's possible. It's truly possible, in my opinion. But with that being said, let's move into our last topic of the evening, and that is final message.
Incoming message.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
So, as we all saw after the game, we all saw the storming of the court. I have mixed feelings about that. For me, from those that don't know, I write for Maryland Sports Blog, and I cover the Maryland women's basketball team. And it's been very interesting to see the year that Coach Freeze has had, especially coming into the season, where there are a lot of questions on what would this Maryland team look like. It's in the aftermath of the departures of Angel Reese, Ashley Wusu, Chloe Bibby, and Katie Benson, and others transferring or declaring for the WNBA. I would have loved to have seen that with some of the games that the women have played. Didn't really see that against UConn when we upset them. Didn't see that with Michigan. And there was a post a while ago that Brene Alexander had put up. And I think it was right after, I want to say it was against Minnesota. I want to say, if I'm saying that correctly. And when you look at their games compared, you look at the games for the men compared to the women, there have been more supporters coming out to see the men. And I'm not, my issue is that when I look at the Maryland team, the women, they have been more successful. I look at the last 5-7 years, the women have been more successful than the men. I'm not trying to make this my point is that support the women's team too, which their support, but to watch them storm the court, I kind of wanted to see that this year for the women. I didn't really see that. Ohio State, that's a rival. Didn't see that. Now, we get a revenge game against Caitlin Clark next week. I can already tell there are going to be more Hawkeye fans than Turpin fans. And I hope I'm proven wrong. I'm not taking away from what the men did last night because it was a much needed win and they deserve that win. But it's support all the teams, regardless, win, lose, or draw. Because it's to me, and I had it, and I've had a great conversation with a former college basketball player, well respected. Hint, hint. Their son plays for Maryland. Not gonna say their name. Not gonna say who it is. Love her to death. Had this conversation of like when people, like for example, she was talking about Kim Mulkey in LSU. People were going to see Kim. While that's true, but you do got a potential national player of the year who's played a big role in their success down there at LSU. But I'm looking at somebody who's has since transitioning into the Big Ten a mold of consistency. But it's like, where's that same fan support like last night? And then to the post that Renee Alexander put out a couple weeks ago, where there was excuses. I'm just curious to see that Iowa game. And I don't see what, and I'm not expecting to be packed, but I want to see more than what I've seen when watching the women's game compared to the men. That's where I'm at with it. I do want to also take this real quick, this opportunity to share my first official sponsor of Big Nate Sports Talk podcast, Zagnif Apparel LCC. Here is a quick clip of the apparel.
The following is a presentation of Zagnif Productions, LLC. Introducing Zagnif Apparel. Our comfortable line of leisure wear and athletic wear will have you comfortable and stylish at any occasion. Whether you're at the gym, out shopping, or just relaxing at home. Whether you're an athlete or just want to lay around the house, we've got the perfect outfit for you. Stop by our website today and pick up your favorite pieces. Zagnif Apparel. Dress like you're already famous.
You can dress like you're famous as with the code BIGNATE15 on Zagnif Apparel. Check them out. Great apparel. I need to go on the website. I did see a hoodie that I did like. But again, you can use my code BIGNATE15, 15% off your purchase with Zagnif Apparel. With that being said, that is also going to conclude this episode. I'm still currently constructing my clips. I forgot to upload the Let's Talk Football family community, of the shows. Shout out to Sean Spencer, Janae Schroeder. They finished season 5. Shout out to Nick Rosario, Delilah Crespo, and Anthony Handy as they finish their season of the Round Table. So it's going to be an interesting season 6. I cannot wait to see what they have in store for them. But I will have that video up probably sometime this weekend. But I'm still working on a couple other things. And also, you see, if you heard, there's some new music in there, some things I'm still working on. I'm still learning Canva. I'm still learning some other stuff. But that's not for me rambling. With that being said, be tuned in future episodes. You will see the Maryland women's basketball team recap. That'll be up as well as soon as this goes up. I will also have the Mystics and the NFL offseason guides up as soon as possible for you. But in the meantime, please like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. This is episode 20, season 13. This will be uploaded with the remaining other episodes. So until then, I will catch you guys on the flip side. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You guys have a good night. Peace. Stay up.
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode and you want to see more content, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bring your sports game on Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you, yeah. I want to thank you. Ooh. For all the times you put up with me. Thank you. And you helped me retain my sanity. Thank you. I want to thank you. And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.